Okay, now we're looking right down at the robot. I'll remove the top cover. And you can see an opening here where the batteries were dropped into the battery holder down below. Now the first component of the electrical system I'll show you is this switch box. I'll just give you a quick peek inside. We've got everything we need to control this robot. We've got a main power switch, a hard push button emergency stop. We've got a wireless emergency stop in there. We also have a couple lights. So let me show you how this box works. We've got two cables that come out of this box. And these two cables, show you the first one. This is our inputs here. We have a ground that's here. Got 12 volts and 24 volts. We need to install these onto the batteries. So we'll do that. Now on our batteries, we've got two batteries, and I'm going to place a jumper across these two, connecting positive and negative. That will give us a ground terminal here, 12 volts here, and 24 volts here. So go ahead and install our three wires. Ground, 4, 12. We'll also install on the ground, I have here just a piece of wire on the end of it. I have a bunch of connectors here so that I can ground anything that gets plugged into the robot. I have a common ground here. So we'll install that also. Okay, and on the other side we have 24 volts with a couple of connectors on there, 12 volts, and an e-stop. So the first thing, I'll get my multimeter here. Okay, we'll then take one end of the multimeter, go ahead and plug that into one of our grounds. And when I switch this power on, you can see that light comes on right there. And you'll see that I have 24 volts on the 24 volt line, and I have 12 volts. So with this ground connector here and 12 and 24, I can plug in any peripherals that I need. Might be sensors, laser rangefinder, GPS, whatever. I can plug it into whatever voltage it needs, 12 or 24, ground it using these connectors, and these devices will come on when this switch comes on. Now the next thing I'll show is the e-stop. So I'll go ahead and plug that in, and you'll see we have no voltage here. Now that this power switch is on, it not only powers the 12 and 24 here, it also powers the wireless e-stop inside of here. Now basically the hard push button e-stop and the wireless e-stop are just two switches in series. So once this is on, we'll pull up on the push button e-stop, turn that on. I also have my remote for the wireless e-stop, turn that on. You can see the flasher is on, and I'm showing 12 volts on the multimeter. So this will power a relay on the motor controller component, which you'll see a little bit later. Once I have my all my switches turned on, we'll get the 12 volts. That will turn on the large relay, and that will then power the robot. Okay, so go ahead and remove this. Turn that off. Now that we've seen that, we need to install a few more wires onto the batteries. So we gotta remove these nuts. Okay, I have here a charging port, and we're going to charge these batteries independently. So I'll go ahead and install this one here. I have another charging port here. Put that on the other battery. I have a high current ground. We'll go on the ground. I have high current 24 volt lead here. That into there. And we should be all set, so we'll go ahead and put these nuts back on. Okay, now that we have all our connections have been made here, I'll show you the motor controller. So this is the motor controller module that I've set up. We're using a Robotech motor controller. And I'll just kind of go over some of these wires. It's a 2-channel controller, and we have power and ground for one channel, power and ground for the other channel. Now these are actually all connected to the same place, but we want to make sure the Robotech does this in order to ensure that that there's enough wire here to accommodate the current for both channels. We've got the 2 motor wires here for both the channels, and I've set up a terminal block so that we can easily connect all the wires. You'll see here where the motor wires come into the terminal block. We've got these wires that actually will plug into the motors, and one of the motor wires I actually have looping through some fuses to make sure that if the wheel gets stuck and draws too much power, we'll just blow the fuse rather than burning out the Robotech. This is the large relay that will be turned on by the e-stop port coming out of the switch module. You can see I've set up a terminal block for that, ground connector. You can also see on the Robotech we've got 2 little wires coming out right here. This is to allow us to turn the Robotech on without actually having main power on to the motors. And this is a nice feature because this is going to be connected through a serial port into the laptop. And so we can have connectivity between the Robotech and the laptop without having main power on. So that's a nice feature. So now we'll go ahead and fit this into place, and I'll show you the rest of the connections.